Okay, welcome to today's Tanya. Today is the 16th of Sivan. And the Tanya of today is a very fascinating, very simple. We kind of discussed it the last couple of days, but it's a very important point. And, there was an article on Chabad.org today called Who Created God? Which is a bit of a bizarre statement. But what don't we do for clicks? But be that as it may, the idea of what Hashem is very fundamental to reality, and in a way the Tanya of today describes it best. Why? Because one of the things it says in Chassidus is that Hashem is not a creator. In other words, the fact that Hashem created is not his title. When you put a title on someone, in fact, you kind of limit them. So if I say, I remember I mentioned this before, I was with my father once, we were online for an airplane, and I meet a guy, I'm schmoozing with him, a little bit like, surprised that somebody's talking to him. So what do? I'm a scientist. So in other words, if you define yourself as a scientist, it may be, what is a scientist? I mean, what is that? Maybe somebody that's researching or something. So you can't say like this. Rabbi Mas had a letter. He has very good questions and answers. Chabad.org. So this guy wrote to him, Rabbi, I'm a struggling actor, and I don't know, maybe I should give it up. I'm waiting tables, this and that. So Rabbi wrote back a very good line. He says, listen, it could be you're acting, but you're not an actor. In other words, the fact that you're doing something doesn't define you. The closest definition we can get to ourselves, very similar to Hashem, is you exist. And there are things that are good and there's things that are not good, and you should do the good things, you shouldn't do the not good things, and that's the question of life. But once you start to define yourself, if a person says, I'm a Christian, what makes you a Christian? If you were born a Muslim, you'd be a Muslim. And, I'm an American. What makes you, if you were born in China, you'd be Chinese. So the idea of defining yourself based on this, that's a dog. A dog's a dog. Because he can't undefine himself. Well, he's good. So it's an interesting point. Everything's hashgacha pratis that made me realize the difference between an animal and not an animal is the dog can't undefine himself, but a human being gets defined. We do get defined. But that definition is not meant to restrict you. Now, the fact is, it's good to have a definition because you can't operate in this world without a definition. These crazy people that are saying, everything's free. It's not true. There's no such thing as everything's free. I can't just walk in. They say, my rights stop at the beginning of your face, right? There is no such thing as some kind of crazy world where just because you're black, you get to decide who should give you their money. Things don't work like that in the real world. So there's a black comedian that once said, there's no such thing as a free lunch, and it's amazing how many people don't realize it. So there's such a thing as rights, and it's universally applicable, and the whole thing of this anyway, it's a separate subject. The main thing that I want to get into today is the idea of, okay, people do have an identity. You do have to create an identity. A child is born, they're born in a country, they're born into a family, they're often born into religion, and all of that is actually healthy because it gives them a certain structure, it gives them a certain reality. But you can't allow that to be your defining feature, because in the end of the day, if you were born into a different family or a different religion, or even a different, if you want to call it, body with different temperaments or different desires, some people may be a little bit cheaper, some people are more spender. So these things are not the essence of a person, because if the moment you can change something, it's not the essence, because the essence can never change. So what is the very essential qualities that can never change? It's the fact that you exist, you're alive. Essential qualities that don't change is Torah is nothing that can change. Why? Because Torah is the way of life, the way of truth, the way of goodness, the way of compassion. These are essential things that are not changeable. One of the essence of Torah, in fact, the other monotheistic faiths picked up on it, is the idea that which you don't want others to do to you, don't do to them. It's an essential truth. You can't change that truth. And so The fact is that there are certain things that are essential and certain things that are additions. So when we speak about Hashem, we're speaking about the essence of Hashem. All the qualities such as Chesed, Hashem creates, such as Gvura, Hashem conceals, the name Yud Kei Vav Kei, the name of revelation, the name of concealment, Elikim. All these different things are part of what He does. They're not necessarily part of Him Himself. Him Himself, all we can say about Him Himself is, first of all, that He exists, that He is unlimited in abilities, and that He is good and kind. This is what we can say about Hashem. But beyond that, there's nothing that a person can say. Everything else, in a certain sense, is a definition. That's why, according to Kabbalah, we don't even say Hashem is wise. According to the Rambam, he speaks about the wisdom of Hashem. He speaks about this in Tanya, based on certain levels. You can say that, but basically on the essence of Hashem. Because if you're saying somebody's wise, in a certain sense, like you're saying he's a scientist, he has this quality. But Hashem doesn't have a quality. Hashem doesn't lack any qualities. So He doesn't lack the quality of wisdom, but just because He doesn't lack the quality of wisdom, you don't define Him in a certain way, because the moment you define somebody, you're actually taking away from the unlimitedness of this individual. And so this is just a little concept, a little bit based on the Tanya of today, which is that the essence of us and the essence of Hashem is actually very similar. It's the idea of an essential existence, the idea of goodness and kindness, which is a core truth and a core way that a person should exist. Hashem obviously is unlimited in all functionalities, but we are the expression of His functionality. And therefore it's our job to learn from Him, to be like Him, to grow all the time, and to be part of history, which is His story, and to express a unique color, a unique you in this world, and each one of us eternally grows and becomes a beautiful kaleidoscope. And in this way, like the beautiful peacock that has all the colors, each one sheds tremendous light and beauty to the world. L'chaim v'levracha.